and welcome to That Man. This is, well, it's a light novel thing, and today, since it's that Christmas period and Christmas is all about giving, receiving, I thought I'd look at a hentai light novel. Honestly, I was genuinely surprised when I actually managed to find out that there actually is a light novel. Hentai, a hentai light novel, should you will, or just a hentai novel. And the title we're looking at today is Busy Wizard, This Warlock Just Wants to Provide for His Wives. Sounds wholesome and pure. And this has been brought to us by Press under their Panty Press license name. Yeah, so this is one that I kind of had my eye on. As soon as it was announced, people were just like, "That Man, you're going to have to review this one." And I was just like, yeah. Honestly, it was a little bit of a difficult time just even getting the title. They haven't put it on Comixology or Bookwalker or any of the normal ones I would look at in terms of buying a light novel, and I couldn't find any way to get an actual physical copy of this quite easily. So I turned to Amazon Kindle. No, I didn't. I bought it from Faku and basically ended up importing it onto my mobile phone for the through Bookwalker. Yeah. Far too awkward in order to just read one light novel. What's this title about? Well, it's about a young man who just goes on a small quest. He's managed to master the dark arts. He's called Chris because there is absolutely no self-insertion right there. No self-insertion at all. And he comes across a young woman who has been, well, she's essentially being sold into slave labour. That's right, it's that whole Rise of the Shield hero kind of discussion, yeah. In fact, it's slightly more pure than that, in that he saves the woman, and it turns out she has been cursed. Yes, right, she has been cursed by the goddess, because, yeah, goddesses are just wanting to curse people these days. Why not? The curse has it so that any form of love that should go to the girl bounces off her and goes on to someone else. It doesn't affect women, but it affects men. So all of the men in her life have been absolute horrible to her for no apparent reason except the goddess cursed her. Yeah. And he soon discovers a way to recover her from the curse because he's a dark wizard, he's a warlock, he's immune to this kind of thing. Because of course, yes, this is a fantasy series, we have to have that overpowered protagonist. This is going to be how not to summon a demon lord yet again, isn't it? DQs from that, they have sex. Many times. In fact, this is kind of one of those ones where it kind of says, start off with the plot, they have sex, they have sex, they have sex. And he soon quickly turns her into a wife. He marries her, he doesn't like use dark magic in order to do it. Everything is more fine and dandy until he comes across the prince, who also has his own harem, and then more wives get involved. Yeah, this is one of those ones that it's going to be. It's weird. It's a weird title. So I can appreciate that I wasn't expecting anything particularly groundbreaking or amazing from this one. But it's kind of weird in how it does it. It's a very much kind of a fantasy one where it's like overpowered protagonist, huzzah, except he's just an overpowered protagonist set in the United Kingdom. Because why not? The prince is called Charles. I genuinely couldn't believe it. The United Kingdom, the prince is called Charles. I couldn't get that out of my mind whenever they had sex scenes. It ruined it for me. And it will ruin it for you too, because I had to suffer through that. He soon acquires another wife, who is Olivia, the original protagonist's wife, her best friend. Because as soon as the dark protagonist, the dark hero protagonist, he is soon lauded as a hero because he's overpowered and super strong, and then they're just like, right, you girls, go marry him, we'll get some decent land. There's political stuff in this hentai, because yeah, that's what you want to be listening to. That's what you want to be reading when you in between the blowjobs and the anal leakage. That's what you want. We want economics and political stuff. So needless to say, it's quite difficult on what this title's actually wanting to be. It's not a full-blown hentai, but it's not a full-blown isekai or fantasy. It does manage to pull things together kind of okay. Characters are serviceable, they're nothing anything particularly groundbreaking. It is kind of a self-wish fulfillment title. I was really hoping that the light novels, the way it was written, I was really hoping that it was kind of, it would fill the gaps between having the lack of images in there. I mean, there's only a handful of images in there, and let's face it, they're all hentai, but I was kind of never just like, oh yeah, I'm really into this. And I was kind of like, well, these characters, they're not quite as interesting as characters that we've got in other series, which kind of made it drop a little bit. This is one of the things, is that I can't really be kind of like, oh well, there's not enough world building, because there was quite a decent amount of world building. In fact, there's quite a more decent amount of world building in that than there was in titles such as Rise of the Shield Hero. However, I kind of like, it didn't really seem to balance stuff out. It kind of was just like, they have sex, and then it was just like, here's a few pages of bump to fill this out about how awesome this guy is, and then they have sex. And I never really had any attachment to any of the characters or anything like that. They were just kind of just like, yeah. In fact, I would probably say they were kind of just porn characters. Yeah. Titles where I kind of felt that there wasn't a nice enough balance between images and written work, which is absolutely makes sense in terms of a light novel. The problem was it didn't really manage to pick up where it failed in terms of having the images. So it was kind of just one of those ones where I was just reading, I was just like, yeah, this is okay. I'm kind of just reading it for the sake of reading it now. Author does admit at the very end that he was struggling to get a light novel published. However, he decided to do a hentai light novel instead, and he was quickly picked up. And that kind of shows, and that a lot of the stuff is very amateurish. It's very much kind of like, yeah, I couldn't really get away with just doing this as a full-on normal story, even though it would actually work. And he's kind of like, yeah, I'll just do this instead. I'll put a few sexy scenes in just to kind of like make it more appealing to other people. And that's kind of how it was. It very much felt that it was something that didn't really work on its own merits, even though the story was significantly better than some of the titles I've read. How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, I'm looking at you. And it was just one way I was just kind of like, yeah, this is just a kind of a thing. When it comes to the artwork is pretty darn nice. It works well, and you can tell it's been a high-class hentai artist who's managed to do it. And I did have a bit of a giggle at the translator. Master of Moms, you did well. Because if there's anyone I'm going to trust with a hentai novel, that is someone who with the title name Master of Moms. Honestly, the title wasn't anything particularly bad. It was just kind of sitting in the domain of averageness. It was one way I was kind of just like, you know what, there actually is potentially a lot of potential with more hentai novels. However, I'm not going to lie, I've read better stuff online, and that was mainly the biggest problem that I had with this one, is just like, it kind of felt that it was just kind of okay. Maybe it's something like maybe a sci-fi one, or maybe it may be one of these ones where it's just like a slice of life, where all of the characters is just like, you know, like every other slice of life series, like Monster Musume or something like that, where it's just like, you know what, we'll have sex with this, we'll actually go all of the way. Maybe something like that would have worked a little bit better than what we actually got, in which we got another generic fantasy title, overpowered protagonist, just with the added mix of there is hentai. Point out that the fact that it's called This Hero Just Wants to Provide for His Wives, there wasn't really a huge amount of providing. A lot of the stuff was kind of nicey. He was just kind of like, I love you, but I also love you, and I also love you. And it was kind of like one of those things where it's just like, they wiped off this whole thing where I was just like, oh, they're gonna get jealous. And it was just like, no, they're all just happy because apparently in this world, when you get married off, you're basically just sisters. I was just kind of like, oh, this might have this whole thing where they're trying to one-up each other. Each of the girls has a different special skill or something like that. And I was just like, no, they're just, yeah. A lot of potential in this, but it kind of just feels like, yeah, they're just kind of did the bare minimum to get it out. Maybe volume 2 might be a little bit more interesting, but at this point I'm not really interested in picking up more of this particular story. I believe Sword Press are doing more hentai novels, and I will more than happily pick it up. Or if you want them reviewing, you know, send them my way. And that's just kind of the way it is. It's nothing any particularly special, but it's nothing particularly bad. That's it from me. Thank you for coming, and if you did enjoy this, please leave a like, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for coming, and thanks again for staying. Goodbye.